Hi, I'm Jay, and today we're at the bench tying plain old bucktails. Stay tuned. And we're back. So, good evening. Been at the desk, at the bench for just a little while today. Make sure I got all the lights on. Tying plain old bucktails, and I just was kind of thinking in my head, just a quick unscripted, but the topic of what we do during the winter. So first, let's just get situated. So first, I'm not tying anything fancy. I have a couple dozen left. These are just plain old 1/8 ball heads. There was a shop, small country store type bait shop that I was making deliveries to. The guy was asking specifically for bucktails that he gets in the summer. He actually had guys asking for them. I don't have any idea where they would be fishing these at this time of year. The weather has been fantastic. We've been ice fishing basically since Christmas. Today we did get a little bit of rain, which was a little disappointing, I suppose. Though nighttime temperatures, it's going to be in the low 20s tonight. The nights before today have all been in the teens or lower, and I'm pretty sure that the temperatures going forward, nighttime temperatures are going to be back down in the low 20s and teens. So I think the ice will be fine. The little bit of rain we got, it will put a little bit of water on top of the ice in most locations here locally, and that will soon freeze over. Makes things a little slushy sometimes, but shouldn't be too much of a bother. But it was kind of nice stopping at the store, and firstly it was nice that I was able to make a second run to many of the shops that I sell to sell a whole nother bunch of ice jigs. It's always nice when you have a good season like that. The stores are making money. Often, a lot of times, they'll make their purchase in the beginning of the winter and they'll just sell what they got. But when they call you up and say they need more, that's kind of nice. So, but this shop, like I said, is a small little country bait shop, and he was asking for bucktails, so that's what I'm sitting and tying. Not that I'm taking anything to him. I'm going to have these in the inventory ready to go in the spring, so I already have them done and ready just for him. So as I'm sitting here tying these, and they're nothing special, just a plain black and white bucktail 1/8 ball with a red collar. I'm using the Danville 2/0 thread, the round nylon unwaxed. I did use up, I have one more spool of the Textreme 3/0 thread that I had, it was new to me last fall, and I bought a dozen spools of the 3/0 specifically just to sit and tie a fair amount of jigs with them to really get a sense of if I like the thread or not. You know, the first impression was pretty good, and I really did like that thread as my first impression. And then as I tied with it, it does have its pros and cons. I still prefer the round nylon, size A or 2-aught, for tying. That's what I think is the absolute best thread for jigs. I do realize, you know, as we go into a new, you know, we're getting older, and materials change, they fall in and out of favor, etc. I know that it is very difficult to find round nylon thread unwaxed in the size 2-aught. So I am still, you know, I do enjoy the Textreme. The 3-aught is a very good alternative, though, you know, I'm always looking to see if I can find a new thread that even has more things that I really like about it. But the tying with the Textreme thread, the 12 spools that I had, it's still a good thread. I would still want to keep using it. There was definitely a difference between a bobbin like so, you know, a typical wire armed bobbin, and I started using this no-name. First of all, I like the arms that are flat stamp metal like this, or spring steel like this, but it's a porcelain tip, so it's a little, you know, it's for finer threads. I don't think the benefit over this, where you break less thread, you know, that's not an issue that I find a problem. But what I did notice was that I had a little bit better feel with the porcelain bobbin. I can't stop, and I can't touch my phone right now. I think I'm using the wrong term for this bobbin. Maybe it is porcelain, but I'll double check. I'll see if I can find. This is a Pakistani, just a cheap bobbin, but I do like the arms like so, but then the thin body of it. But the one thing I did notice with this bobbin and that Textreme thread is I could feel, so when you lock on your thread and you have tension, the section of thread between the jig and the bobbin, I could really feel, and without looking, I knew I could feel if I was leaning forward or leaning to the left, leaning to the right, up, down. Like I had a really good sense to be able to feel that thread, feel the stretch, the just slight give that the thread has. So I would consider, one, I am getting more of that thread, but I will go to a different bobbin. And I've always kind of thought, you know, these cheap wire framed bobbins are just fine. I have a dozen of them sitting right here. I've been happy with them for, you know, 30 plus years, 40 plus years of jig tying. But for that Textreme thread, which it's an oval thread. It's not completely round. It does have some, you know, it has similar properties to a flat thread. It's not a twisted thread. So a little bit different bobbin, I think, would be the way to go with that. So we'll see more of it throughout the year. I just got to get an order together, and I'm still searching to see if I can find a bobbin I really like. You know, I do have some old standbys. The Dr. Slick glass bobbin I really like, and Renzetti, that ruby tip bobbin, is probably my all-time favorite. But I'm not interested in spending an awful lot of money. I don't consider jig tying like the fly tying. I consider the bobbins more, they're just a simple tool. And, you know, like I said, I have, for my size A thread, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 sitting right there with thread in them ready to go. So I don't want a $30 bobbin. I don't want a $30 or more. You know, bobbins, you can spend $75, $100 on a bobbin at this point. So I don't think that's necessary. But you know, we'll add those things as I can find them. And I'm kind of picky. I spend a lot of time scouring the interweb and shopping at different places where I can touch things and kind of critique them before I actually take the plunge when it comes to tools for this type of thing. So, but so as I'm sitting here, what, you know, the actual topic I thought would be fun to talk about is so we're at the very end of January. By the time this video airs, it'll probably be mid-February. And, you know, my thought for the topic is just talking about the things that I do in the winter in preparation for opening day, in preparation for springtime sales. The things that I'm working on now. So these Bucktail jigs as an example. In January, February, you know, I plan to sell in April or May. So you're always thinking ahead, you're always working ahead, working on things that are in the upcoming season. Turn off my face just briefly. It's a pretty jig. I know they're fishing these in a smaller river. It's not quite as big as the Susquehanna. It kind of cuts down through central New York. And I can't remember if it's a tributary of the Susquehanna or flows into a tributary of the Shenango, which meets the Susquehanna in Binghamton. But I think that's where primarily they're fishing them. Also, there's a couple lakes and reservoirs up in that general area as well. So getting back on topic here. So, you know, what do I work on as a tyer? You know, if I was just tying for my own personal use, yes, you spend your winter months tying all those jigs and flies that you plan on using throughout the season. You know, restocking your own personal tackle box. But what I'm doing now is, since about Christmas time, I've been spending most of my free time casting. So I go through my inventory boxes, kind of, you know, we've shown the clipboard that I have, kind of get a idea of what I need to tie. Then I take a quick look into my big card catalog drawers and look at the painted heads that I have ready to go. I then take a look at the unpainted heads that I have ready to go. And I might have one of those drawers behind me, I think. I'll grab that right after we finish this jig, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. But, so I get a general idea. I don't have to count it down to the dozen, but I figure the most popular jigs that I'll be tying up, I know I want 6 to 10 dozen of every color, of every of each jig, of each color, of each size. The ones that aren't quite as popular, you know, maybe the flatheads, I'll just do, you know, 3 to 6 of each color and have them done and ready to go. But you always want enough blanks in reserve in case you get just an odd request. There's a new hot color, something where I have the material so I can sit down and tie whatever I need. So I've been casting most every weekend, not necessarily Saturday, Sunday, but between 8 and 15 hours. Could be one full day or just spread out over Saturday, Sunday. And I have coffee cans that are just filled with the heads, the jigs. They still need to be cleaned up, so, you know, during the week, I'm not big on watching TV or anything like that. But I'll throw on the computer. I'll put, you know, YouTube videos up. I like listening to other tires and watch other tires videos and news and whatever on the YouTube. So during the week, in the evenings, just for an hour or two each night, and I'm cleaning up the mold lines on the jigs, clipping the sprues off, cleaning up the mold lines, and then putting them in the large card catalog drawers that I have. Take a quick peek at this jig, another good one. Collars are pretty tonight. Yesterday I was struggling. Every once in a while I'd get a collar that I thought was a little bit too long, too wide. I had a small flood here in the basement in the corner. So I pulled up the carpet in the office so now my chair doesn't really stick to the floor the way it's supposed to. But switch over. So this is what I'm talking about. This is just a stamped metal card catalog drawer. This one actually is divided into 3 sections because the heads are so small. Ball heads 1/16, 1/8, and 1/4. There's also a couple different bags in here. There's 1/8 with a little bit different hook that I do custom just for a couple local guys, and then a 3/32 ball head, which I have tied before on the channel. It's perched, I don't know what it is. It's basically a 1/16. They're pretty close side by side, but we do some patterns for perch on them, and it's just a great size jig, perfectly weighted. But there's the card catalog drawer. So I have 2 big cabinets of those. Basically, one is unpainted heads, the other one is the the jigs and bags, Ziploc bags. So basically just filling those and making sure I have everything that I need when I need it. That sounds impressive if I was being honest and you could and I showed you actually everything. There's some numbers that are lower than I should feel comfortable with. Just as an example, this bag here, 5/8 Barumba black. Oh, come on now. 5/8 Barumba black. Is it this quart size Ziploc bag? Is this a quart? I don't know. It's larger than a sandwich bag. Should be completely full. This should be very heavy. I shouldn't be able to really hold it like this. I should have those painted up already. And complete that bag completely full. I should have a full drawer. I know that the large card catalog drawer is probably 3/4 full, 2/3 full maybe. It should be stuffed full with unpainted heads. So I'm a little behind. I had to order hooks. I just got a big order of hooks in the mail this morning, so I'm good to go on that. And then now that we're going into February, I will spend my weekend time. I'll paint up the heads that I need. Of course, I start with what will be the most popular that I'll need. I do have that drawer with the ball heads out because I'm tying, I don't know, I'll end up with I'm tying 8 dozen with these black heads to have ready for the spring. So paint those first, replenish those 8 dozen that I've taken from the drawer, and that way I know I'll have them if I need to tie a different color but need that color head. And the painting really will only take me a couple weeks because I can do, the rack behind me over my left shoulder. Oh, I guess on your screen it might be over my right shoulder here. But that holds, it's 4-sided, it's 4 levels, and it holds 7 dozen. Hold on. We can do 9 dozen jigs per side. You can't put too many jigs on the row because if they wobble back and forth, they kind of will stick together. But if you leave a little space in between with heads, like maybe up to about one half in size. If you go a little bit bigger than that, you lose an extra jig on each row. But 7 or 8 dozen per side. So that's an awful lot of jigs. So if I'm painting them, I can do a couple. I'll do a few different head shapes per session, I guess. If I mix up black, I'll try to do as many of those different shaped heads that I need black in, then go to brown, then go to blue, whatever. The airbrushing takes a little bit more time if I'm doing that, but I'll do that completely separate, where I'll take 2 or 3 days, just clear the area, set it up specifically just for the airbrushing, do all my airbrushing, and then I can clean it up and do something different with that space. But so as we go into February, I'll be painting, filling these bags so they're ready to be tied, and kind of at the same time, you know, in the evening, if I don't feel like painting or doing eyes or anything like that, I'll sit and I'll actually tie a few dozen each night. Nothing to knock me out, you know what I mean? At this stage of the game, there's no rush, you know, but as long as you're consistent and you keep moving forward, you know, you'll be fine. Don't put things off, because then the last minute rush is just, you know, too stressful, right? But just comfortably, casually get work done, tying throughout February. March we speeded up a little bit because we're getting close to time to start making our deliveries. So really focusing on filling in the gaps in the boxes. And without fail, you will always get orders as we get closer to opening day. Guys that want something custom, either different material, maybe a little bit longer hair. They'll want a color of something that they saw on a TV show or online or in a magazine, which, not a problem. I'll try to get those custom orders done as well. And it doesn't always come from individual people. It'll be guys that go into a bait shop and say, they'll explain a specific color or pattern that they want. The bait shops will give me a call. They'll want a couple dozen of something custom. So March is usually, it's just all hands on deck, get tying done. And then here in New York State, April 1st usually is opening day of trout, where a couple weeks before April, I will make my run to the couple shops that sell my flies and streamers, and I will just make a quick visit to them. It's not usually huge orders. Occasionally, you know, I've been surprised a couple years where the one place down in Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania, took way more than I expected. Great for a first, you know, you haven't even gotten, fishing season hasn't really started, and you already got a half decent order from a single store. So those guys, they took jigs at the same time though, but they took more flies than I expected, being from the area that they're in. But I was really happy, really pleased, and I guess they've been selling flies all summer long. There are a couple streams down that way. I guess that's getting into, I don't know if that's the Poconos or if that's just the Endless Mountain region of Pennsylvania. But there are an awful lot of nice little trout streams that feed into the Susquehanna. And the rivers there is still similar to the river here, though the bottom is either very, very fine gravel or bedrock. In the Susquehanna, where we are in New York State, you have that small gravel, quarter nickel, dime sized stones, but we also have some boulders, you know, bowling ball size and bigger. But we don't, very few places do we have the bedrock here, where we are in New York State. But Tunkhannock, great place to fish if you know the Susquehanna at all. My son-in-law, on their way back down towards Harrisburg, they'll go the back roads there, and he likes to fish that section. They'll stop also down near Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area, and he'll fish the Susquehanna there as well. He likes the whole stretch. But some really nice places if you like fishing smallmouth bass. Susquehanna is the place to fish. One last look. How'd we do? It's a nice jig. Nice color. I have this color in my box. Make sure I have something solid white, solid black, black and white. But I'm going to keep on tying, but I think that's going to do it for us this evening. Hopefully, I've talked about this an awful lot. No secrets, right? So if you want to know something about tying or how we're doing something, I'll always chat about it. Does it really make sense? I've always heard it called a lifestyle. So I don't really watch TV. I like to sit at my table and just tie, and I don't mind the repetition. If something gets a little repetitive to me, I just do different colors or different size jig, and it seems to change it up enough for me, right? But these are just the things that we do as we're in the January, February, March months of winter before we get to April. And so I hope I was able to shed a little bit of light just on the process, I guess. But I think that's going to do it for us tonight. As always, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any new content. Feel free to share any of our videos, as it does help increase awareness for the channel. Add some comments down below, questions, anything you want to know. I'm happy to talk about it. I do get a lot of comments offline, and I always enjoy back and forth that we have. But I think that's going to do it. So, until next time, guys, keep tying tight lines.